Alright, so this is another edition of Dwight's Movie Reviews. Going to be reviewing another movie, of course. Going to be, I guess, pretty much the way I'm gonna first start these movies off with movies that I'm have just watched, like The Unborn I watched tonight. That was the previous one I did. Or I'm also just gonna do movies that I have seen and I know that I love and talk about those a little bit. So this one is going to be a review of Eyes Wide Shut, which is a movie that came out in 1999 with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. Um, I think there's sort of a thing, sort of embedded, sort of message in here, um, or some sort of thought, some sort of uh, thought in here about who we are as people a little bit, and if we can stay monogamous, if at all. I mean, it's sort of thinking about the whole institution of monogamy, the way I look at it. So the movie is of this doctor. Tom Cruise is the doctor, and they go to this party, and Tom Cruise goes off to he goes off and a couple girls talk to him, and then the wife, uh, Nicole Kidman, goes off and dances with this other older guy who wants to obviously, you know, be with her, and Tom Cruise's his boss, I think, apparently gets into something, and he, has sex with this girl, and she drugs herself and everything. So he has to go and fix that whole thing, and they get back, and he was like, and the Nicole character is like, who are those two girls that you were with? And he was like, what the hell are you talking about? And she's like, where? And she was like, where were you for however long? And she starts sort of questioning his fidelity and as to whether he's ever cheated on her. And she's like, did you fuck them? That's basically the whole thing. This kind of talks, he talks about how, he discusses how he never has and he never wants to. Um, and she was like, why do you trust me to not go fuck somebody else? And he was like, because but he says something to the effect of, I believe in you, and I have faith that that you would never do that. And she goes into this big, and Nicole Kidman has a great performance when they have left the party and they're in their bedroom, and they're having this conversation where she leads off asking about, where were you and did you fuck these two girls? And he's like, no. And, she talks about how, even though he has this great faith in her that she would never do such thing as cheat on her, that that one time they were on vacation, she saw this Navy man, this guy who was in the Navy, who was looking at her in obviously some sort of provocative fashion, and she's like, she thought about him going down on her and him, doing all this stuff to her. And when she didn't see him the next day, she was relieved, and because she might have done something. So Nicole Kidman's performance here was fantastic. I think that was just, Eyes Wide Shut is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I think it's fantastic. I don't own it. It came on Netflix a while back, and I watched it then, and I think it was like a few months ago, and I just loved it. I watched it a few times, and what happens is, a friend of his, or somebody who he was working for, or a friend, apparently a friend of his, their father died, and he came to help them with what had happened, and he doesn't go back. He doesn't go back to his wife. He goes off, and he finds this hooker, which he doesn't. He ends up not doing anything with, and he pays her anyway. He finds this friend of his who is a pianist and plays the piano in this club, and he tells him about how he's been doing and everything, and they're talking, and he talks about where he was like, well, I have to go now because he has to go to this place. And he was like, hey, and Tom was like, hey, why don't I come with you? He's like, no, this is very, very secretive. I play blindfolded. Um, so he eventually does give him the address and tells him what to wear. And he goes to this. Tom goes to this costume shop, and he convinces the guy, even though it's late at night, to give him a costume with a cloak and a mask and everything, because that's how you have to go with the password, and you have to have a cloak and a mask to cover your face before, so you can ever get in. And what you see while he's in the costume shop is his daughter is fooling around with these two Asian men, and there you kind of get this air of infidelity, and this air of eros in the air, I guess, if you want to call it that. This air of this whole theme of you know, this whole theme of sex and fooling around in this movie. This whole theme of that the world is not really in a state where monogamy is common. I mean, the whole world is in a state where people do not practice the institution of monogamy, and they pretty much fool around with whoever they choose whenever they choose. So he goes to this place, and the whole thing that happens in this place, I find the whole scene of it to be fantastic and just amazing. And he comes he comes in, and you see this crowd of masked people, different masks, and the whole thing is set up well. There's this there's this circle of women around this guy where everybody else, and the women are naked except for they have the mask on, and where everybody else has cloaks on and everything, black cloaks. This king, or this head of this what it seems like to be a cult, has this golden mask and red cloak on this throne with this big staff, and they're kind of doing this chanting thing, as he nods off for the girls to go, and this whole big ritualistic thing happening, and as Tom Cruise walks in, he sees all this, and that's where things kind of escalate. And the whole thing is it's not really a cult. You find out it's not really a cult, and I won't really explain how the whole movie ends, but what happens is he finds out that this is just a place where people wear masks and they just randomly fuck each other constantly, to no end, and not knowing who your partner is and not knowing anything about that person, and just partner after partner after partner. But in the way he comes upon it is still in this ritualistic fashion. So it's really a great movie, and I think you have to see it if you are fine with the whole idea with seeing a movie of nudity. And nudity is a real big one, but I think I won't go any further into the plot, but the whole theme here is of this theme of eros in the world, and the Greek word eros is this love of romantic or sexual passion, usually sexual passion, where you're appreciating not the person but the beauty of the person, and you're just sort of this kind of love, that's the only thing that you're thinking about, partner to partner, no matter what happens, and this whole idea of monogamy is not a appreciated or practiced thing in the world. I think that is very, very true. It's very true that monogamy is sort of not always, practiced. And even when even when people try to if somebody is in a relationship or even engaged or married, somebody sometimes, many times will cheat. So there's that. I won't go any further into the plot. So again, rating the movie by four criteria. The images, there's no real effects here. Everything is filmed and real, but the whole images of the ritual and the masks and everything and the whole everything is fantastic. I think that there's a 10. I give that a 10 out of 10 for the just what you see in the movie. Everything is a 10 out of 10. The plot, never seen anything like this anywhere else. I think it's a fantastic, interesting plot. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat. I think 10 out of 10 for that. The theme or message in this, I think, is again the whole idea of anti-monogamy. That is definitely there, so I think that boosts the rating as well. Acting, you got Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman here. You got the greats here. You got people who are great actors and actresses. Nicole Kidman, great performance. Same with Tom. Fantastic movie. I think 10 out of 10. I think this is just one of those starred movies for me. Those ones that I have a star by, or that I think about with just this upper echelon of movies that are just fantastic. And I think that if you haven't seen this, you should watch it if you have the opportunity. I think it'll come on Netflix again at some point. I just don't know when. But thank you for watching, and happy movie.